While I'm not going to go into the textbook definition of philanthropy, I'm going to say that for developing nations, because they are developing, it is expected that a good number of the citizens are at a place where you could say that they are hungry. They are also at a place where several of their needs, their housing needs, their healthcare needs, their feeding needs, and all of those needs are unmet. So when you have that place where you have a population, for instance, that they say that in Nigeria's population, that you have a good number of people living below poverty line, and you could say that the population is as a place where you can try to exploit them with things like philanthropy. And that's not just in Nigeria, but in many developing nations. And because of this, the way they recruit their leaders is to say, oh, this person gave me this person gave me that. And so politics or political decisions at that level where the citizens are vulnerable are in such a place where politicians can exploit the vulnerability of citizens to attempt to manipulate their political choices. In, for instance, the UK and in the United States or in all of those advanced countries, there's never been a time where you will give some people 2 cups of rice and you expect them to give you their votes. That can happen because they are at a place where, one, the level of education, and secondly is that people are not so vulnerable that a cup of rice can compromise their voting decisions. People are not so vulnerable that paying for school fees can compromise their voting decisions. But make no mistake about this, and as we try to establish the baseline for this conversation, I'm going to be saying a lot of things that some of you might be hearing for the first time. One of it is the usual argument you see in Nigeria every election that civil society groups are fighting. Oh, let's stop vote buying, let's stop vote buying, let's stop vote buying. And I think I understand what they are saying. But then if you look deeper into what they are saying, they actually, well, in my view, I would think that what they are saying does not necessarily stand side by side with reality. One is this, that votes, anywhere you see democracy, votes are bought. I'll say this again. There is vote buying in every democracy you see in the world. Whether you see democracy in America, you see democracy in Britain, you see democracy in anywhere, call it advanced, first world, second world, third world. Once they are practicing democracy, all votes are bought. But the question now is, what is the currency for the exchange of votes? Let me make this analogy. If you come to a typical village that people don't have so much enlightenment, if you give them a bag of rice, you have compromised their votes. So at the exchange of a bag of rice, they can give you their votes. There are places for mere 500 naira they could give you their votes. There are others, all you need to do to convince them to give you their votes is to show them a manifesto. So to them, the currency for purchase of their votes is a credible manifesto. I know that before you vote a credible candidate, you want to watch the person's interview. And some of you, the only thing you need to do to get their votes is to speak well on an Arise TV interview or a Channels TV interview, and then you've bought their votes. There are some people, the currency for purchase of their votes is appeal to tribal sentiments. All you need to do is to shout a Milocon. And once you're a Milocon, you've bought their votes. So anything you tell them, once you appeal to their base emotions, you've gotten their vote and their support, regardless of whatever your other credentials are. And there are some people, the only thing you need to do to get their votes, for instance in America, is to quote unquote support their ideology. I saw a very recent video of America's President, Joe Biden. I think that video was in I can't remember what year now, but that's a video that looks like, because he looks a little bit younger in that video. And he was railing against same-sex marriage in the video that I saw. And all of a sudden, because it is now tenable for him, because politicians in America, make no mistake about this, many of them don't have ideologies. What they do have is that they have opinion poll. So if they do an opinion poll, and they see that the voters in their vicinity are pro-abortion, all of a sudden they switch from pro-life to pro-abortion. And if they see that more people are against gay marriage in their locality, they will all of a sudden start championing anti-gay marriage. If the tide turns tomorrow and that they see that a good number of the voters now are for gay marriage, that's why you see people like Joe Biden change his ideas fundamentally on gay marriage. Not that his religion has changed, not that his core belief has changed, but because there are more voters who think like this, And then he wants to think like that, or to pretend to be thinking like that, or pursuing the ideas and the ideology. So for those people, the only currency you need to purchase their votes is to support their ideology, is to say, oh, I am pro-abortion. And then pro-abortionists to all of a sudden, regardless of what your other policies are, they are supporting you because you've bought their votes with what they wanted to hear. There are other people, all you need to say is, I am pro-life. And then all of a sudden, they start supporting you because just by telling them that anybody who commits abortion is a murderer, that's what they need to hear before they give you their votes. And that is the same way there are people who need to hear that I am a Christian, vote for Christian. That's it. That's what they need to hear. There are others who need to hear, I am a Muslim, don't vote an infidel. That's all they need to hear, regardless of what other things you're doing. But there are some who are sophisticated that they may have to investigate your economic policies, and you buy them over using economic policies. There are some people, their biases are with education policies. There are people, their biases are with the lifestyle of the individual. For instance, in 2015, a lot of people supported President Muhammad Buhari in Nigeria because of, quote-unquote, his frugal lifestyle, this man of integrity. So because people were looking for a man of integrity who would become like a messiah, who was going to come and save them from the PDP misrule, so they narrated this narration of a messiah, and that messiah appealed to some population. But then there are others who see him as an ethnic champion, as someone who will go to fight for their ethnic group, who go to fight for their rights. And for those people, they also, in that sense, sold their votes to him using those things. So what I've tried to paint to you now is that all votes are bought. And that is why in places where you can appeal to base sentiments, you see politicians appealing to base sentiments. In places where they can do Emiloko, you will see politicians do Emiloko. In places where they cannot do that, they can try to buy the votes with bags of rice, noodles, cartons of noodles, tricycles, and every other thing that they call quote-unquote empowerment. So the first point has been established that in every functional democracy, all votes are bought. The only differentiating line now is what is the currency. In developing countries, the currency could be outright exchange of naira and kobo. It could be bags of rice, it could be onions, it could be noodles, it could be anything. And then in places where people have not so advanced with education, you can buy their votes using appeal to ethnic sentiments or religious sentiments, or in some cases a mixture of both. I hope you know that there are some people who buy votes with appellation to age. There are some people who say, oh, it's youth turn, it's time for youth to take over. So their manifesto is, it's time for the youth. If you ask them in the morning, they are doubling down, it's time for the youth. That is their manifesto. And there are some people who buy votes with other currencies. So it's been clearly established that world over, votes are bought. The differentiating line now is currency.